That is frustrating. All right. Greetings, everyone. I'm glad to be here, and I'm glad that you are here. Today's nonsense is a budget deck, trying to make Historic as affordable as possible. And this deck is another deck where we're kind of trying to take advantage of a keyword in particular. And this one is Deathtouch. You'll see all of our cards have Deathtouch in the entire deck. Not notable exception, Vraska Swarm's Eminence is a Planeswalker, so it can't have it. It does produce Deathtouch things, though. This is the sort of deck, though, that is very strong. I think you can honestly cruise through gold. Absolutely cruise through, you know, any gold and below with it. And I think after a couple upgrades, you could easily take this to Mythic. Honestly, I believe that. The only rares in the deck are currently lands. I think it's very important, particularly if you're playing suboptimal cards, to be able to cast your spells. So we do have rare lands. Obviously, this can be built without rare lands. So if you end up just putting other lands in here, that's fine. I would go with untapped lands, though. That is very important. So the only other rare cards in the deck are Hooded Blightfangs. Literally everything else, commons and uncommons. Hooded Blightfang. 3 mana, 1/4 Deathtouch. Whenever a creature you control with Deathtouch attacks, each opponent loses life, you gain a life. Whenever a creature you control with Deathtouch deals damage to a Planeswalker, destroy that Planeswalker. So, can really, really punish opposing Planeswalker decks. But the real heart of the deck, and the card that we are honestly built around, that we really want to have all the time, Fynn, the Fangbearer. 2 mana, 1/3 Deathtouch. Whenever a creature you control with Deathtouch deals combat damage to a player, that player gets 2 poison counters. And then a player with 10 or more poison counters loses the game, right? So with Fynn, all these 1-power Deathtouchers can just kill our opponent. Sometimes on, like, you know, turn 3 or 4 or something like that, right? It can happen. So this is really the card we want all the time. So theoretically, folks, this could be built with a couple more Deathtouchers with no rares and no mythics. There's currently no mythics in it, right? But so it could be done. We're currently doing this. Vraska Swarm's Eminence is here to give us a little more staying power, a little more card advantage in matchups where it matters. But make no mistake, folks, we would much rather have Collected Company. This is not in here for budget considerations, but this will go in the Collected Company playlist, because I think 4 Collected Companies just instantly make this deck able to be played to Mythic. I think that, honestly, that distinction alone would take it to the next level. And obviously right over the Vraska Swarm's Eminences, and we're currently on 22 lands, which is already prepared for Collected Companies. If you wanted to do away with these two, you could go down to 20 lands and go up a little bit, but we're kind of have these as a little bit of a proxy to show you guys that even with 22 lands, we have plenty of creatures and things like that. So I warn you, some of the gameplay coming up would be improved by just making this one change, just Collected Company alone. Another notable exception is Chevill. If you have some of these, that instantly makes the deck better as well. Just another really powerful card. And death touching and does everything we want. It improves all of our trades and stuff like that. It gives us a little card advantage. Leyline Prowler is a card that folks might want to put in here if you were on Collected Company specifically. It's too expensive without, and I think I would avoid it in general, but I wanted to mention it because every time I talk about Deathtouch, this one gets brought up, right? But specifically Collected Company, right? So that said, folks, the rest of it is very obvious. Death touching creatures, turning them sideways. Let's do it. All right, folks. Miriala. Good luck, Miriala. All right, we've got, we're going to keep this. We've got our Finns. We've got our Hooded Blightfang, so only so much we can complain about here. We're going to start on the Tajuru Blightblade. See what happens. Soul Warden, eh? Well, yeah. I think we're just going to Fynn, gain our opponent a life, get in. See if our opponent wants to trade away a Soul Warden. or take a couple of poison. They take the poison instead. All right. Well, folks, they can gain a lot of life, but they will not live through the poison counters if things don't change for them. All right. Soul Warden. Johnny's Pride Mate grows. Opponent thinks about it. All right. We're going to attack. Opponent takes all of it. That's 6. If you were keeping count. Poison. Foulmire Knight. Gains our opponent a life. Grows that Pride Mate. Vampire of the Dire Moon. Gains our opponent a life. Gets a counter. Johnny's Pride Mate now a 5/5. Alright. Any two of these are now lethal, folks. So our opponent has to cast creatures and chump with everybody. Unless they have removal for Fynn. Admittedly, we have a backup for Fynn. It just makes their blocks easier, you know. I'm not thinking about things. Covering our stuff. Looking at our creatures, sure. Possibly doing math over there, would be my guess. Okay. When it passes, we're going to go straight to combat here. Opponent flashes in a creature, gains a life. Yep. Well, we're attacking with everybody. Any two of these are lethal. They have to block everyone. That doesn't work. Yeah. GG, Miriala. GG. All right, we got him, folks. We got him. All right, folks. Here we are up against Final Dragon. Good luck, Final Dragon. And yeah, I think we're going to keep this. We've got both the Hooded Blightfang and the Fynn, so... what more can you ask for? Narnam Renegade, come on down. I mean, all right. We're going to go ahead and cast the Fynn. There aren't too many ways for our opponent to counter our spell here. And the quickest way to win is going to be with poison counters, no question. Wow, that is just excellent as far as we're concerned. So let's go ahead and give our opponent the poison. Yep. And Mire Triton, Vampire of the Dire Moon, pass the turn. Our opponent on this style deck probably does have some amount of bounce and stuff, which they are clearly digging for. But if they don't have a way of sending Fynn back, they're just dead indeed. Final Dragon. GG. GG. Alright, folks. We're up against Wolfelix. And good luck, Wolfelix. We're going to try this. This is a really strong hand. Given that we have, you know, some of our synergy pieces already in hand. The Narnam Renegade is probably the best, you know, 1-mana Deathtoucher in our deck, obviously. The flexibility for getting at the 1/1 counter is what makes it the most powerful out of them, which we're not taking advantage of, but just having the second toughness is actually quite strong. Yeah, our opponent on... they're definitely representing removal here, folks. So we're gonna not cast the Fynn this turn. We're gonna get down to Tajuru Blightblade. We're trying to get them to spend their removal spell. If they're also... yeah, if they're on... I was gonna say, if they're on Play with Fire or something, they might just go at our face to get the Scry, which would make sense if they're on mono white or mono red. In that case, the Hooded Blightfang gaining us life is far more likely to be beneficial than the Fynn's anyway. Wow, another Fynn. Well, then you know what? Since we drew the extra Fynn, let's go ahead and make things difficult on our opponent. Just go ahead and take 4 poison counters. That's a lot. Casting Fire Breather. Also pretty scary, though. Yep, Static Discharge. Unsurprisingly kills our Fynn. We take 1. The Fire Breather gets in. Wow, our opponent has no fear here. Alright, well. Fynn number 2. Opponent goes to 8. folks. Any one of these is lethal as long as Fynn's on the board. Of course, Fynn won't be on the board. But the deal is we have another Fynn now, right? It is also true that we very well may have won there if our opponent, or if we had gone with the Fynn on 2. Though our opponent has also shown us sufficient removal to keep the Fynns off the board. Yeah. Well, Fynn number 3. They likely will have to spend a removal spell on one of these and remove the other one. Or block the other one. Now. Not too many ways of killing the Fynn with just 1 mana. Alright, so they do the thing, the predictable thing. We are still going to kill you, opponent, unless you block. Yep. This is unsurprising. Fynn is now lethal, all by himself. Our opponent will almost certainly just kill it, though. We're not surprised there. Yes, lightning strike happens. And the turn gets passed. Alright. Hooded Blightfang, come on down. Sedge Scorpion, get in. Drain our opponent. We gain a life. That's very, very important here. We are going to Foulmire Knight. Trying to gain as much life as possible, but also get down as robust a clock as possible. This is basically lightning helixing our opponent if they can't get rid of Hooded Blightfang. You know, they lose 3, we gain 3. It's unlikely that they can't. They only have 2 cards left. They have to spend them both on Hooded Blightfang this turn. Or they're in a lot of trouble. If we lightning helix, that takes us to a much, much safer place. Oh, shoot. Come on, folks. Another static discharge. The one single card in their deck that has that effect. Come on, man. That's pretty... Oh, that's pretty unfortunate for us. And now a first striker? Wolfie Licks. Come on. They are getting very, very fortunate over there. Alright, Royal Eruption. Pings us, threes us. Gonna ping us again. Yeah. We just draw a generic Tajuru Blightblade. Darn it. Yeah. That is super, super bad. Ramanop Runes is abhorrent as well. We need that last Fynn off the top. That's what we need. Come on! Actually, can we even cast that? 1, 2, 3. We cast this, that would be 4, 5. We can't cast this because the Cemetery Gatekeeper will kill us if we get our Fynn. Our only hope is to draw our Fynn or our Hooded Blightfang here. So we need our opponent to not have it, and we need to get it. It has to be this card. So, please, Wolfie Licks. You've gotten really lucky so far. Very, 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 very strong draw. We need you to kind of whiff a little bit, and we need to get graced with some of that as well. All right. Yeah, that's gonna do it. All right. GG, Wolfie Licks. GG. Darn it! You got us. You got us. Holy crap. All right, folks. Well, this hand looks good to me. We're on the play. We have some early plays. We also have Fynn. We have the Hooded Blightfang. You know? Oh, boy. Our opponent might just be on Mono Brown. They might not be fast enough to beat Fynn. They might just concede on the spot. Alright, let's attack. This ferret's on fire. Alright, Aether Hub. Sure enough, folks. They do appear to be on Mono Brown. Mind Stone comes down and they can't follow it up. Oh my word. Alright, darn it, folks. We kind of punted just a little bit there, I think. Because we can't both Gifted Aetherborn and Foulmire Knight in the same turn. But that's okay. We are setting up lethal for next turn. Any two of these are now lethal. And with the amount of mana they have... Oh my gosh! That is frustrating. Alright. Alright. I suppose fair is fair. Darn it. Opponent had the Extinction event. They had to go even because Fynn would kill them. Hooded Blightfang, though, can still do the job if given enough time. Opponent gets the Forsaken Monument. That's going to gain way too much life, though. Darn it, folks. It'll also give them enough mana to Ugin. So we're going to present lethal on the board. Even if they gain a couple of life, it's still lethal, but chances are... Come on, man. Yeah. Alright, if we get Fynn off the top, we can still win. I said Fynn! Jack! Come on! Arrgh! Betrayal of the highest order. A stupid Extinction event. There are not very many of these mono-black, mono-brown decks going around these days. So, Ferret on Fire, though, has the... You know... thing for this game. They got our number. All right. Just two Fynn. Drop to 10. We did get a Hooded Blightfang, but we needed it to be Fynn. We're just dead now, you know. Because we can't chew through enough life for the Forsaken Monument. Had to be Fynn there. And the chances of them actually sweeping the board are insanely high now. It's also very likely that they mill over our last couple Fynn. But what do you do? You know, we're gonna... 1, 2. Yeah, just the 2. I mean, we got a shot. Has to be Fynn, though. Okay, Ugin. Kills our Hooded Blightfang. Yeah, that wasn't going to matter anyway. Alright, do they get... 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, yeah. GG, Ferret on Fire. I cannot believe they had that stinking Extinction event. Ah, brutal. GG. Alright, folks, here we are up against Cubal Den. Good luck, Cubal Den. Yeah, we're going to hang out of this hand for sure. I'm going to shock it in, just get a Tajuru Blightblade down. Get this party started, so to speak. Opponent goes to the Plains and a Cleric class. Alright, well. Hooded Blightfang, not nearly as good in this matchup. Chewing through lots and lots of life. We would really, really rather have Fynn. But in fairness, we would almost rather have Fynn anyway. So, you know. Hey, don't mind if I do. Fynn the Fangbearer, come on down. Opponent, how about a few poison counters? Well, we're going to Foulmire Knight here. Because unless they had foretold a board sweeper, there shouldn't be a board sweeper this turn. So if they just cast one creature, we've got lethal through a single blocker. So, indeed. GG, Cubal Den. GG. All right, folks. We are back. And honestly, we had a great time. Even in Mythic, it won a fair amount. We went about even. We had, yeah, I mean, you saw quite a few quick wins. We had quite a few quick losses. If for nothing else, just getting your daily wins in and stuff, holy crud. This deck can get that done in a heartbeat. We had kind of a heartbreaking loss to a Planeswalker deck, where with Hooded Blightfangs and Vraska Swarm's Eminences, being able to kill Planeswalkers on the spot, I really... You know, it feels like we should have been able to make that happen, and it didn't happen, you know, so that. And then there was another one where our opponent was playing a huge number of creatures, you know, Valkyrie Harbingers and Ajani's Pridemates and stuff. and hit us with not one, but 2 Wrath of Gods. They're in a creature deck. They probably have 25 or more creatures in their deck at least. Hit us with 2 Wrath of Gods. And then, you know, so they ended up winning with like a just generic tiny little beatdowns. So, like, I feel like we got a little bit unlucky there. But in fairness, again, the deck still did fine. And that's without our collected companies. I mentioned in the deck tech, if you are building this deck at home and have any number of these, put them in. 100%. This makes the deck better. And I'm going to put it in the collected company playlist, even though we're not playing with collected company, because I'm telling you, this deck is infinitely better with collected company in it. I only built it without just to show you folks in the gameplay that it is not required to get the ball going. You need some commons and uncommons to get the ball going. I would also recommend these with or without the collected company, because it does give you a lot more game against, believe it or not, some of the controlling style decks, because they're going to be focused on getting rid of your Fynns. This gives you a way to drain out their life and kill their planeswalkers. Very important in those style matchups, just killing, you know, whatever Teferi and stuff, right? But also against mono red style stuff. Other really, really aggressive decks that might be racing you, being able to attack with 2 creatures, gain 2, they lose 2, can just absolutely swing the race, just 1 attack. So I do think this is worth it. As far as, again, if you have any number of Chevills, I wouldn't go with the full 4, even if you had them, but potentially even up to 3, at least 2. This card is very, very strong. So I would put those in. And then maybe some number of changes to the mana base, as far as if you had whatever lands you wanted. But as far as would I play the deck as is? Absolutely. I wouldn't hesitate. And even if you didn't have the Hooded Blightfangs, what I would do then is I would cut the Vraska Swarm's Eminence, believe it or not, as well, and also cut our lands. You could go down, if you were brave, as far as 18. If you had everything at 1s and 2s, you could do that. And then just, you'd have to mulligan relatively aggressively, because you can't really keep a 1-lander. But you absolutely could build that deck, and this could be 100% commons and uncommons at that point. You will struggle a little bit without the rare lands to go that low on lands, though, because there will be times where you need to be casting double blacks or even just blacks and greens, and you only have one or the other kind of basic, you know, so I'd watch out for that. But honestly, folks, the deck was good. Highly recommend it. If you're in best of 3 style stuff, this is not what the sideboard would look like, so, you know, understand. These are suggestion cards that I put over here to remind myself to talk about, not you know, whatever. Oh, as far as, yes, I put these 2 in here to remind me also. I don't know that you would ever want 4 Vraska Swarm's Eminence. If you wanted to test it and get back with me and let me know how it went, fine. My problem is we're pretty aggressive here, and if anything, you'd want to be going down on lands, with the exception of Collected Company. If you add the Collected Company, maybe 22 might be the right number. A lot of the time, you need to be hitting that 4th mana, right? So maybe not then. But I don't know that you would go up to 4, you know, just because it does legend itself. It is really slow, and we want to be really fast. But that said, would I give this my stamp of approval? Absolutely. 100% if you had the collected companies. If not, even as is, 100%. You can cruise through gold. But you'll struggle to climb, I think, out of platinum and stuff with this without the collected companies. But I do think you can climb with this deck pretty easily, even with the collected companies. Just for the pace of games. Fynn makes these games go lickety-split, you know, so I would absolutely encourage you folks to craft this deck if this is the sort of thing you enjoy. That said, this was a viewer requested deck, so if there's any sort of decks that you guys would be interested in kind of seeing and stuff, don't hesitate to ask. This is now the second of such videos where folks have said, hey, would you build this sort of thing? And I can't promise it'll happen in a timely manner. Some of these take a long time to go up, you know, I record them in advance and stuff. But, you know, folks, I'm here to entertain you, so whatever you want to see is what I want to do. So you folks have a wonderful evening, and I will catch you next time. Good night.